Hey guys, what's up? It's Blue. This is blog number 7, and this week we'll be talking about sociological perspectives on identity development, as well as multiple dimensions of identity development. So let's go ahead and get started. I found this week's readings particularly interesting, but somewhat confusing at times. So bear with me a little bit. Um, mainly, so I'm hoping to find some questions that I can initially prompt for discussion, and hopefully spark an intellectual debate and discussion with these questions. So let's go ahead and get started. First and foremost, I wanted to kind of just address a little bit of the Weber article, which I found particularly interesting this week, mainly in reference to the themes between of race, class, gender, and sexuality that can be interpreted specifically with the meanings of masculinity and femininity between these within these themes that can be seen throughout several periods of historical relevance, and particularly how it related to how the dominant ideology of masculinity and femininity for males and females, as well as gender, male, female, uh, black, white, heterosexual, homosexual, has changed significantly throughout historical time periods, but ultimately how the dominant ideology has interpreted the differences and how it has changed society's views, as well as throughout throughout impactful events through history. So I thought that was just particularly interesting this week to read a reading that can relay those themes to those particular areas throughout a historical time frame. Um, Also, I wanted to kind of address in reference to the Cirillo article, mainly in the concept of identity construction. So that's where our first initial question is going to come through in the discussion prompt is are do you feel that constructionist approaches are being utilized by student affairs practitioners and higher education professionals currently um, at Valdosta? And if not, how can we go about to ensure that approaches, if deemed necessary and appropriate, can be utilized for by professionals in the future? So let me go ahead and restate that again, just for clarity. Is do you feel that constructionist approaches are being utilized by higher education and student affairs professionals currently at Valdosta? And if so, how are they being approached? And if not, how can we go about to ensure that those approaches can be utilized by professionals in the future? Currently, I feel that this is also going to tie into the second question in reference to the Abe's article, particularly in reference to the meaning making feature of the context behind interpreting meaning within the context of race, class, and gender and sexuality. And that's where my second question is going to come through. Is Does interpreting meaning in amongst the dimensions of multiple identity development need to be further addressed in student affairs and higher education? And if so, how and why? And if not, how and why? Or if not, why? So let me go ahead and restate that again because I think these two questions can kind of correlate together. Is the second question again in reference to the Abe's article was does interpreting meaning amongst the dimensions of higher education I'm sorry, let me restate that. Does interpreting meaning amongst the dimensions of multiple identity development need to be further addressed by student affairs and higher education practitioners? If so, why? And if not, why? Um, and again, in reference to do you feel that constructionist approaches are being utilized by student affairs and higher education practitioners in Valdosta also kind of correlates with this question. Basically, I would say, my personal opinion, I feel that these approaches, in reference to the constructionist approach and the Abe's and meaning making approaches, I do feel that both of these kind of correlate together, and the fact that I do feel that approaches need to be further addressed in student affairs and higher education, and that some of these approaches are being utilized because it is the responsibility of student affairs professionals to aid students in areas where they may be struggling in determining who they are, whether it be in sexual orientation or social class or gender identity, in determining who they are as a person. Because as we have read in through previous readings, that it is around this time and within the college development for many students that these particular areas are issues that many students struggle with. So it is imperative that as we as student affairs professionals have approaches available to us, and can analyze and assess issues that students are struggling with in order to help them interpret meaning behind why they feel that they're struggling with these certain areas, and what can they learn from them, or what can we learn from them as professionals in ways that can kind of help cope and transition them through these areas of hardship, these areas of hard times, or conflicting issues and barriers with that they may have in reference to family, peers, friends, things of that nature that students may be having and struggling with these certain areas. So again, let me go ahead and restate these questions here in reference to the discussion prompt. The first question was in reference to the Cirillo article. Do you feel that constructionist approaches are being utilized currently by student affairs and higher education practitioners at Valdosta? And if so, how are they being utilized? And if not, how can we go about to ensure that these approaches, if they are deemed appropriate and necessary, can be utilized by professionals in the future? That was the first question. Second question was in reference to the Abe's article. Is does identity development, or does interpreting meaning amongst the dimensions of multi identity development need to be further addressed by student affairs and higher education practitioners? And if so, why? If not, why? Hopefully you guys have some insightful discussions in reference to these discussion prompts, so I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks, guys.